So a real quick update, this is my son Tabor. He's back helping me work on the truck while Tavish is out of town visiting his girlfriend in California again. That kid just never stays home. But we bought all of the parts we need to rebuild the front brakes. Those parts will be here at about noon. We have an hour to get everything torn down before that. We may or may not make it because we're having trouble getting the last lug nut off. Blast it with a torch, hit it with some penetrating oil, blast it with the torch, rinse and repeat. And even with the air tools, we're having trouble, so. But we'll get it, and then we'll get after all the things underneath this. All right, we finally got the last lug nut off. Tabor's gonna see if he can get that tire off. I'll bet it's rusted on there. Oh, that was easier than I thought. Okay, what do you need? What do you need to tear that apart, huh? Some wrenches. Yep. You'll find that we're gonna use 9/16 and 1/2 inch on a lot of things on this truck. That's a very standard thing. All right, so Tabor's starting the process of taking off bolts to see how this thing comes apart. Neither of us have ever done this before, so we're literally gonna make it up as we go. All right, so a quick update on getting the caliper off. There's a key in there, a key, I'm calling it a key. It's a slider. So we pulled this bolt out on the back side of the
it went through right here.
Housing, yep, and it went through right there. When that bolts out, that allows that thing to slide. We pounded it in.
I think it would go either way.
Yeah, it probably would go either way.
But then
once that pops
right
out,
off.
then it loosens the whole thing, and now we can get access to pads and everything. And it's gonna leak fluid, so it's bleeding. So we bought new calipers, new pads, new hub assembly that includes the studs, the lugs. So we're just replacing all of it. So the next part is to figure out, we got to get that cap off. There should be a bolt inside there that'll allow that whole assembly to come out. And then we'll look at the bearings and see if we need to buy new bearings. We probably will do it while we're in there just because we're already in there. Keep going, Tabor, don't stop now. Where are you going? Where are you going? Come back. Were you able to get the top piece off?
No.
Not yet, okay.
Just unhooking the brake line right now.
So this is the nut that or the bolt that we removed that holds, I'm calling that a key. I'm not sure what else to call it. It's the key that holds that in. And so I'm just gonna tap it backwards like we did on the other side. Get it far enough that I can get the tuning fork to work. And then I don't want to lose any of these parts. Keeping an eye out. Oh geez, there they go. I found them, we're good. So it goes in like that, and then you pound it all the way in, so that spring applies pressure to keep it from vibrating and causing your brakes to squeak. So that's kind of cool. Old school, man, old school. All right, so we're gonna take this cap off and see what's under here. Oh, that's delicious. Check that out. That is nasty. You want some, Tabor?
Nope.
You sure?
I'm good.
I'll save you some.
No thanks.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. So, quick update. We've got the driver's side completely ripped apart and ready to be put back together. I guess that'd be called a splash guard maybe? I don't know. The splash guards, we got those off. I ground off all the grease and rusty spots. Hit it with rusty metal primer. Those will go back on. Not doing anything super crazy underneath. This side we still need to do some cleanup and such before we can put it all back together. But I believe our parts have arrived. So we're headed to O'Reilly Auto to pick up our parts and get this thing put back together. Yeah, give it one more zing. Woo, there you go. So we now have two projects going on at once. This is Tabor's wife, Lexi. She's here doing her brakes. She wanted to help, but she needs brakes done, so I'm helping her, or teaching her how to do brakes on her own car.
Yep.
Hi, Lexi.
Hi.
And Tabor's over there grinding away at rust and grease and whatever, so getting lots of things done today. Alright, so I've bench bled the master cylinder. I tried to get a good angle of that while I was actually doing it, but I just couldn't get the camera, the lighting to make it even do anything that would make sense. So basically, I'll explain it to you what you do. I have this little apparatus thing right here, just out of wood to keep it level and from rolling side to side. You put fluid in both of the chambers, and then with it still full, you don't ever let the fluid get down to the the holes, the inlets or outlets down at the bottom of each hole. You don't want any air to be introduced. And then you compress and release, and compress and release, and compress and release. And you only have to compress it, you know, half inch, 3/4 of an inch maybe. You do that, you'll see bubbles come out, you'll see the fluid level go down each time it comes back out. You push it in, bubbles come out, it sucks fluid in. And then you top it off and you just keep doing that until you get 0 bubbles. So every compression produces no bubbles at all. Then you know that all of the bubbles are out of this system here and you're ready to install it on the truck. When you do that, you want to make sure that you keep it as level as possible. You don't want any air introduced to any of the chambers. That is a bench bled master cylinder attached to the brake booster. Rolling! Nice. Alright, so we're getting ready to pack the bearings in the front hubs. I don't have a bearing pack thing, and I'm not going to pay somebody else to do something I know how to do. So if you don't know how to pack bearings by hand, you're going to learn something new, so that's awesome. The bearing will come with a new race, but the hub that I bought already has the new race in it, so you actually don't need this for anything more than packing grease into the bearing. So you're going to take the bearing and the race and hold it in your hand with the bearing roller side up. We'll get a close shot of that when we get rolling, but you want the widest opening you can get so that that's the joy of having laundry in your shop. But you want to be able to pack grease down inside of that gap, and this gap is smaller, so pick the widest of the two gaps and you'll be able to pack the bearing. So what we're going to do is get bearing grease in the palm of my hand, and then I'm just going to work the grease up into the bearing. So you'll see as we go. Got a lot of these to do, so get lots of practice. Alright, so I dropped the, well, here's the race that came with the bearing. I used that as the guide to make sure that it got packed down inside of the rollers in the bearing. Remove that and then drop it down in there with the beveled side down so that it matches the race. I hope that's obvious, but... And then you just smear the grease so that it's all packed down inside all of the little crevice there. And then we have a seal to put in here in just a second. Alright, so I've got the next inner wheel bearing here in my hand ready to go. Ready to start packing that. Again, use the race that came with the bearing while you're packing it, and then you'll take that race off when you go to install it in the hub. So let's get some grease in the palm of my hand.
What's a race?
What's a race? It's who finishes first. Now the race is what actually the bearings ride against, and you should always replace your bearings and your race at the same time because they wear to each other. It's like having a fingerprint. So let's pack a bearing.
Say something about what you're doing.
I'm pounding in the seal.
Oh, man, why are you not just beating it with your baby beater?
Oh, yeah, you don't want to beat it with your baby beater, that's for sure, because you'll ding up the edges of it and it won't seat all the way down and you won't have a good seal. And you don't want your grease coming out or you'll be stranded on the side of the road somewhere. Bad idea. Boom. Are in. And just hit that enough times that it gets down in, seated all the way around the edge. A ball joint press works great for that because it has all the different sizes and fittings and everything holds together just right. You can use a socket for that, but I didn't have one that was big enough for that one. So I pulled out the ball joint press. Okay, so that's done. That's got the race in it as well. That's fantastic. So you don't need the race for the inner one either if you buy the hub. Oh, that's gonna be smooth. Alright, I think we're ready to mount this on the truck. And if you can do this without knocking that bearing out, that is ideal. And I'm not going to be able to because it's too heavy. There we go, like that. And then you take your flat washer, and it has a flat spot on it, and that's, you just find the matching flat spot on the hub, put that on there, and then you drop your nut. Jeez, don't worry, I found it. And tighten that thing on there. And again, hand tight is all you need. You're not putting any torque on that bad boy. You should spin freely, but not be loose. That'll do. Just like I have pliers to bend that out. Whoa! Slipped off. About fell on my can. Just bend that up so it can't pop out. And that's just enough to hold that nut from spinning, because it's not tension that holds it in. And just like that, we have newly packed wheel bearings in the front. Just like that. Replace your cap. I'm gonna tap that. Alright, I'm gonna try to find a new cap for that because that's dented and I'm afraid the seal's been broken on it once before. When we took this side apart, it was rusty down in there. Water had been inside that hub. The other side looked like it had just been freshly packed. It was factory sealed, so that was awesome. And I'm sure that this is all original material that's on here, so this is considered an upgrade. Better than used, not quite new. Okay, we'll just do it that way. Top goes in first and then it slides down in. It goes on over that. And then the bow in it is what actually applies pressure or tension to keep the caliper from chattering. The newer cars have fancier versions of that. This is an old school method. So now if we can get both of those things started under there. And you've got to go in far enough to where you can get the set bolt through that groove right there. So just pound it in until it gets there. Nine sixteenths. Sure, we're all that's holding it. Righty tighty. Yeah, it doesn't need much. It was a bugger to get that thing out of there. So it's not coming out unless you want it to. And this just tensions it so that that thing can't slide around. Gotcha. But it's good and tight. Until you're turning your steering wheel, apparently. Whoa! Okay. That is one side down. Get the other side to this exact point, and then we can start bleeding the brakes. All right, so we got the brake booster, brake master cylinder all bled. That I didn't get all the bubbles out of it on the workbench, so always double check or you'll be bleeding your brakes for years. You'll be bleeding brakes forever. I'm sure that our brake lines are completely empty of fluid because we replaced the flex lines, and because we disconnected everything and it was disconnected for so long, I'm sure that they're just basically empty. So this is going to take a while. I don't know of a faster way. If you know of a faster way, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Maybe that'll help somebody else out. But pump the brake pedal, hold it down, release the valve, tighten the valve, release the pedal. And you're going to do that cycle over and over and over again until the only thing coming out of the release valve or the bleeder valve is fluid. You want zero air, and eventually you'll get to where the pedal is just firm and doesn't just cushion in. We got to get the air out of all the lines before we get to that point. So let's bleed brakes for an hour.
That sucks, man.
so that test drive attempt was a complete and epic fail. What we determined it was the driver's side rear wheel. When power was applied, there was something wrong in the drum brake system and it would just lock. The wheel would roll freely. We jacked it up and we could roll that wheel freely, but whenever it was under any power, forward or backward, it would just seize up and lock. So we're gonna have to do another test drive another day. We got more work to do on the truck, obviously, so be sure and like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything. We appreciate your support. I know this video was kind of a long one. It's been a long time in the making, but thanks for sticking with us as we get through this process. Lots more to come. We've made a lot more progress on the truck since then. I'm recording this a lot later than that video was actually recorded, so we've made some really good progress. We've actually taken a successful test drive. So be sure and like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything, and we'll check you guys in future videos. Appreciate it. See you soon.